When my daughter scored 0 in the college entrance exam and it went viral, becoming a national joke, the girl I had sponsored performed exceptionally well and was admitted to Tsinghua University. The accusations and ridicule drove my daughter to the brink of despair, and she suffered a mental breakdown, becoming mentally disabled. Before she died in a car accident, she kept repeating, "Mom, I really answered correctly." Only later did I discover that my adopted daughter had bound a score swapping system, stealing my daughter's status as the top scorer in the college entrance exam and, with it, her life. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to 3 months before my daughter's college entrance exam. My brilliant daughter was explaining this wrong question to the adopted daughter, who was distracted and her eyes flashed with resentment. After the exam, my daughter estimated her score. "Mom, I think I can get into Tsinghua or Peking University." I was about to tell her that no matter the result, doing her best was what mattered, but the usually reserved adopted daughter suddenly sneered, saying meaningfully, "I'm the one who can get into Tsinghua or Peking University." I was a bit surprised. My daughter's grades consistently ranked in the top 3 of her grade, and everyone said she was destined for Tsinghua or Peking University. It was understandable that she estimated her score high, but the adopted daughter's grades had always been in the middle to lower range. And getting into a second-tier university would have been good enough, could she have had an exceptional performance in the exam. But when I asked Chen Jing, she just lowered her head and didn't speak. Oh well, since they were both so confident, I was happy for them to be able to attend their dream universities. But when the exam scores were announced, I was dumbfounded. Ning Yao, 0 points. Chen Jing, 743 points. Ning Yao is my biological daughter, and Chen Jing is the poor student I sponsored. Although we never officially adopted her, she has been living and eating with Ning Yao for the past few years, so it's fair to call her my adopted daughter. My daughter was stunned for a moment, suspecting that there was a mistake in the scoring system, and kept checking repeatedly. I remembered that the top 50 students in the province would have their scores technically blocked by the scoring system, so I quickly checked my messages to see if I had received any notifications from the Education Examinations Authority, but there were none. My daughter was dazed and devastated. "How could this happen, Mom?" I filled out the answer sheet. I must have answered correctly, right? Chen Jing couldn't hold back her tone, pride mixed with a hint of showing off. "Auntie, I told you I was the one who could get into Tsinghua or Peking University. Now do you believe me?" I was speechless. I had chosen her from a pile of poor students' materials because she was an orphan, and I had sponsored her in food, clothing, and shelter for 7 years. I was naturally pleased that she could get into a university and change her fate through her own abilities, but for her to boast at a time like this, to provoke my daughter, was truly heartless. Soon, the homeroom teacher called, and upon learning the situation, her tone was inevitably disappointed. There were only 2 possibilities: either the barcode was mislabeled, or cheating had occurred. My daughter desperately explained, "Teacher, I carefully attached the barcode, and I absolutely did not cheat." But the teacher could only sigh. After hanging up the phone, my daughter was on the verge of collapse. Chen Jing, however, smiled and said to Yao Yao, "Yao Yao, could it be that you were just careless and misremembered? Did you really stick the barcode properly? Maybe you were too nervous during the exam and made a mistake without realizing it. But don't be sad. You've always comforted me before, haven't you? The score doesn't matter, as long as you're happy learning, that's what's important. Haven't you been quite happy throughout high school?" All her words seemed to be comforting Ning Yao, but upon closer listening, they seemed to be saying the opposite. After saying these things, Chen Jing smiled again, and I could almost detect a hint of schadenfreude in her expression. I instinctively pulled my daughter away from Chen Jing, taking her into the room and telling her not to think too much, to focus on resting. But that very night, a short video titled, "Former Female Academic Prodigy Suffers Waterloo in Gaokao, Scores 0, suddenly went viral on a certain platform. In the video, my daughter's face was clearly exposed, making her the first nationwide public spectacle of a 0-scoring Gaokao student. In the comments, uninformed netizens were hurling insults at her, each word and phrase dripping with contempt. Her mother really wasted her time giving birth to her. Her father should have just shot her against the wall. If I were a parent, I'd beat this ungrateful daughter to death. What's the use of studying well? She dropped the ball when it mattered. I could score 200 points with my eyes closed. She must have deliberately scored 0. It's better to give birth to an animal than a daughter like her. Sons are better. I realized it was too late when I found my daughter clutching her phone, scrolling through those appalling comments. Seeing me push the door open, her eyes were red and swollen, her whole body trembling. "Mom, I'm sorry, maybe it really was my fault for not sticking the barcode properly, I'm doubting myself," she said. I quickly comforted her. "It's okay, Yao Yao, don't pay attention to those who don't know the truth and just make wild guesses, don't let irrelevant people affect you, you did nothing wrong, Mom believes in you." Eventually, my daughter cried herself to sleep, and she promised me that if the outcome of this college entrance exam couldn't be changed, she would gather her spirits and retake it next year. But the next day, something went wrong. After waking up, my daughter was completely out of her mind, reduced to a drooling idiot. Exhausted, I took my daughter to various hospitals, never returning home, staying in hotels instead. The doctors couldn't find the cause, eventually attributing it to the stress of the exam, but I knew Yao Yao wasn't that fragile. Thinking about the recent changes in my adopted daughter, Chen Jing, I felt something was off. During the time when Yao Yao was being mocked online and fell ill, Chen Jing frequently made headlines, her popularity almost rivaling that of celebrities. This was because, despite her average academic performance, she had miraculously scored the top mark in the province. She was accepted into Tsinghua University, with congratulations pouring in. That summer, one sister ascended to heaven while the other fell into hell. When asked about her feelings on being admitted to Tsinghua, Chen Jing smiled sweetly at the camera. "I just took the exam casually, you know, Tsinghua, it's okay, I guess, it was an expected result, so there's no surprise." Then, she sighed at the camera. "It's just a pity for my good friend Yao Yao, she really worked hard, much harder than me, I wonder why she got 0 points. I frowned deeply, but then I witnessed something eerie. Chen Jing was talking to the air alone. "I've always hated that slut Ning Yao. She's always nagging me to study together, she talks big, saying she wants to help me get into school, but isn't she just showing off her academic superiority? Now, isn't she supposed to help me? Let's just swap her exam scores with mine. By the way, you see that God of Wealth, it's been sending good fortune to viewers for 2 months. After giving it a like, type, 'Thank you, God of Wealth,' in the comments, and it will feel your sincerity and send you 2 more months of good fortune. Hahaha, right, system. Besides swapping scores, do you have any other fun features? My biological mom's gambling debts are piling up again, and she's really pushing me. Do you have a function to swap wealth balances with others? No, never mind, I'll figure something out myself. Also, you said that by swapping Ning Yao's scores, I've stolen her luck, which turned her into an idiot. Will she ever wake up? Stealing scores equals stealing luck. Without luck, she's on the verge of death. How will she die?" I was completely stunned, followed by overwhelming anger and hatred. Every word from Chen Jing was like a thunderclap in my heart. A score-swapping system, stealing luck. Isn't Chen Jing an orphan? Back then, it was because her information showed she was an orphan, both parents lost in an earthquake, that I decided to sponsor her. I thought I was doing charity, but little did I know I was raising a treacherous wolf. Ning Yao's current state is all because of her. Also, Chen Jing said Yao Yao is dying soon. What does that mean? A wave of immense fear washed over me. At that moment, Ning Yao, who had been resting, also heard the voice from the monitor. She suddenly screamed as if triggered and bolted out. "Yao Yao!" I rushed after her, but she ran incredibly fast, mumbling something incoherent as she went. Unexpectedly, a small truck passed by, and Yao Yao was crushed under its wheels. I held her bloody body, crying uncontrollably. Just before her death, my daughter regained a moment of clarity. Her eyes red as she told me, "Mom," there was a voice constantly urging me to go take the college entrance exam, saying I'd be late if I didn't run now. It's that system of Chen Jing's again. Does it mean that without luck, a person will die? She called me one last time. "Mom, am I going to die? Save me." But the next second, she stopped breathing. I completely broke down, fainting while holding my daughter's lifeless body. Yet when I opened my eyes again, I heard Yao Yao's voice coming from the room. I cautiously pushed the door open, and on the small blackboard above the desk were beautifully written calligraphy words by Ning Yao herself. 100 days until the college entrance exam. I had somehow returned to 3 months before my daughter's exam. This time, Yao Yao was still alive, not a fool, but still a top student. She was explaining this wrong question to Chen Jing, who was distracted, her eyes flashing with resentment. I accidentally heard Chen Jing's thoughts. Ning Yao, this idiot, always showing off how much smarter she is than me, seeking attention. Why doesn't she just die? Instead of bothering me here, she should go do a few more sets of 53, so I can score higher in the exam. I coldly stared at Chen Jing. She hadn't spoken, but the voice definitely came from her. If I hadn't personally experienced my daughter's death, I would never have linked that venomous voice to this seemingly obedient and well-behaved girl. Ning Yao studied with her, and she called Ning Yao an idiot. Ning Yao helped her with lessons, and she cursed Ning Yao to die. I thought my daughter's kindness would bloom, but in Chen Jing's eyes, it all became pretentiousness, seeking attention, and showing off. How laughable! In the city even fierce dogs aren't allowed, yet I raised a wolf in my home, a treacherous wolf. Yao Yao was still trying to finish explaining the problem to Chen Jing when I walked straight in and interrupted. Since she doesn't want to listen, you don't have to explain it to her. Yao Yao looked confused. Mom, Chen Jing, who was always sensitive, immediately sensed the coldness in my tone. She was caught off guard but quickly stood up, pretending to be a bit wronged, and explained, it's not that I don't want to learn, I just got a little sleepy and lost focus. Besides, Yao Yao's method of solving the problem is too complicated and a bit soporific. But in her heart, she was cursing, this old woman suddenly has some attitude towards me. I really want to slap her. When the college entrance exam is over, I'll go to Tsinghua University, and her daughter will become a useless person. There will be a time when she begs me. I sneered. She wants to slap me, but she probably doesn't dare to do it now, but I can make the first move. I directly raised my hand and slapped Chen Jing across the face. The air suddenly became silent, and soon, the left side of Chen Jing's face visibly reddened. She was stunned, and for a moment, the hatred in her eyes couldn't be concealed. Auntie, why? She suppressed her hatred, tears streaming down her face, looking extremely pitiful. No reason, I just felt like slapping you. Do you need to pick a day to beat a white-eyed wolf? Ning Yao quickly pulled me back. Mom, why did you suddenly hit Jing Jing? I sneered. She wasn't sleepy, was she? I'll help her wake up. Chen Jing bit her lips tightly, her face full of disbelief. I pulled Ning Yao away, leaving Chen Jing alone in the room. Even after I left, Chen Jing remained there, covering her face, stunned. On the surface, she looked innocent and silent, like a pitiful little white flower, but in reality, her thoughts had already betrayed her. Has the old woman gone mad, dared to hit me? She doesn't know that I've secretly taken many private photos and videos of Ning Yao. I was originally planning to let Ning Yao take the college entrance exam for me first, and after getting the scores, I would sell those private photos for a good price. No more waiting, I'll sell them tomorrow and make her famous for good. With every word I heard from Chen Jing's thoughts, my heart sank further. Chen Jing had actually taken private photos of my daughter when she wasn't paying attention. Over the years, Chen Jing had been living with Yao Yao, eating and sleeping together, so if she really wanted to secretly take private photos of Yao Yao, it would be too easy. I was so angry that my hands were trembling. I looked at Ning Yao, who was right in front of me, and my heart felt like it was being squeezed tightly. This time, I must protect her. Ning Yao noticed my unease and asked with concern, Mom, what's wrong with you? I told Yao Yao that Chen Jing might have already taken her private photos and was planning to sell them. Yao Yao's face turned pale, and her lips quivered. Really? How is that possible? I didn't answer anything else, just asked if she had noticed anything suspicious about Chen Jing. Ning Yao's expression was dazed for a while before she slowly replied. She hesitated. One early morning, I woke up and found her standing by my bed, holding her phone, which scared me a lot. I asked her what she was doing, but she stuttered and didn't explain clearly. I was very sleepy at the time and didn't think much of it. Could she really have been taking photos of me secretly? I nodded. We need to find a way to check tonight. If we find anything, we must get rid of those photos. We absolutely can't let her spread them. She doesn't have any other tools, so she probably just used her phone. Yao Yao suddenly remembered something, and her expression gradually cooled. That phone was a gift I gave her before. Yes, I remembered that Ning Yao and Chen Jing's birthdays were very close, and this year they both turned 18. Ning Yao used her scholarship to buy Chen Jing a phone as a birthday gift. Chen Jing said she had no money, so she didn't prepare any return gift for Ning Yao. In fact, the value of a gift doesn't matter. Even a handwritten card would have been a gesture of goodwill. Ultimately, Chen Jing simply didn't have that kind of heart. The next morning, Chen Jing found her phone missing. After searching in vain, she came to ask me and Yao Yao, Auntie, Yao Yao, have you seen my phone? There are very important documents stored in it. Can you help me look for it? Her tone carried a hint of probing. I asked knowingly, what important documents? Her eyes darted around, and she stuttered, just some exam materials. I sneered in my heart, exam materials, what a load of nonsense. So I said indifferently, then there's no need to look, Yao Yao has all kinds of exam materials, you can ask her if you need anything. Chen Jing choked, unable to speak for a long time, but her inner voice kept cursing, who would care about her daughter's trashy documents? If only she had known, she would have made more backups of those photos and videos elsewhere. She had already notified the buyer last night. But now that her phone was lost, how could she send the files? After a moment of silence, Chen Jing finally came up with a new line, Auntie, the documents are secondary, but that phone was a birthday gift from Yao Yao. I really treasure the things Yao Yao gives me. Now that the phone is lost, I'm really anxious. I felt sick just listening to her. Ning Yao couldn't help but frown. Last night, Ning Yao and I had gotten her phone and carefully gone through it. Ning Yao tried twice and unlocked the album using Chen Jing's birthday. Inside were all sorts of videos of Ning Yao changing clothes, taking showers, and even some of her sleeping in light, lacy nightwear. During the summer, girls didn't pay much attention to changing clothes at home, but little did they know, Chen Jing had secretly recorded everything. When Ning Yao saw those videos, she almost threw the phone away in anger. Now, Chen Jing had the audacity to say she was reluctant to lose the phone because it was a gift from Ning Yao. This performance was Oscar-worthy. Realizing she had been deceived for so long, Ning Yao couldn't hold back and retorted, forget it, Chen Jing, don't bother looking for the phone, it's with me. I spent thousands of my scholarship money to buy that phone for you because I considered you a friend, but now I regret it, and I don't want to give it to you anymore. If you want a phone, buy one yourself. Ning Yao, what do you mean? How could you treat me like this? Besides, there are a lot of my private things on that phone. Did you just go ahead and look through them without my permission? Both Ning Yao and I could tell that Chen Jing was deliberately probing, trying to see if Ning Yao knew about the hidden videos. After all, the album was password protected. Fortunately, Ning Yao reacted quickly. She pretended to be annoyed and glared at Chen Jing. What's there to see? Just some vain selfies, right? I didn't think they were important, so I just formatted it and reset it to factory settings. Ning Yao, what do you mean? How could you treat me like this? Besides, there are a lot of my private things on that phone. Did you just go ahead and look through them without my permission? Both Ning Yao and I could tell that Chen Jing was deliberately probing, trying to see if Ning Yao knew about the hidden videos. After all, the album was password protected. Fortunately, Ning Yao reacted quickly. She pretended to be annoyed and glared at Chen Jing. What's there to see? Just some vain selfies, right? I didn't think they were important, so I just formatted it and reset it to factory settings. I smiled faintly and told Chen Jing, according to the original agreement, I am merely your sponsor, not your guardian or your adoptive parent. The amount I sponsored you was 800 yuan per month, continuing until you turned 18. As of now, I have already fulfilled my obligation and even exceeded it, so you can move out. And you don't need to come back anymore. Chen Jing probably never expected that I would kick her out of the house. She was completely panicked and resorted to her old tricks, playing the victim and shedding tears. Auntie, why are you suddenly asking me to leave? All my relatives are gone, I have no home, you've been so kind to me, and I've always considered this place my home. Are you abandoning me? I know I'm not as pretty as Yao Yao, and my grades aren't as good as hers, but Auntie, I can definitely score well in the college entrance exam, believe me. I almost laughed out of anger. She had the audacity to say that, after using the score-swapping system to take Yao Yao's grades for her own, and I clearly remember, from my previous life, hearing her conversation with the system through the surveillance. She once mentioned, my birth mother gambled and lost, and came looking for me for money. Initially, she accepted my sponsorship under the identity of an orphan. Who knew where this birth mother suddenly came from? I glanced at her and deliberately asked her directly, Chen Jing, you actually still have a mother, don't you? She was utterly shocked, forgetting to cry, and stared at me in stunned silence for a long time. Indeed, she was guilty after all, and just a little probing was enough to make her unravel. I reminded her, since you're not an orphan, stop always saying you have no relatives. It sounds like you're cursing your own mother, which is very unfilial, isn't it? I sponsored you all these years because your information said you were an orphan. Since you have your own mother, if you ever feel like crying again, go cry to your own mother. Finally realizing that she would never gain anything more from me, I was absolutely not going to keep her. Chen Jing finally stopped playing the victim and glared at me, her face dark as she asked, Auntie, are you really going to kick me out? seeing that I didn't respond, she let out a sarcastic laugh, glanced sideways at Yao Yao, and threatened, "You'll regret this." After that, she went back to her room, packed a few things, and left with her suitcase. I knew Chen Jing was fearless because of the system she possessed. She believed that no matter what she experienced now, as long as she endured these 100 days until the college entrance exam, she could use the system to steal others' scores and swap their lives. But she didn't know that this time, even the system couldn't help her. Chen Jing moved back into the dormitory. After that, I told Ning Yao to study hard while also keeping an eye on Chen Jing's actions at school. Chen Jing has completely given up now. Before, no matter how she calculated in her heart, at least she pretended to be gentle and obedient on the surface, but recently, she seems to have stopped pretending. She started hanging out with some troublemakers from other schools and even got herself a little boyfriend from outside the school. Her classmates think her personality has drastically changed, either sleeping in class or skipping it altogether. She even submitted blank papers for weekly and monthly exams, which infuriated the teachers. Her monthly exam scores plummeted from the middle to the bottom of the grade, dragging down the average score of the entire class. The most absurd thing is that when the teacher publicly criticized her, she retorted, "It's just a mock exam, what's the use of a high score? You'll see how ridiculous you are after the college entrance exam." She even said to the teacher, "I advise you not to scold me now. After all, your teaching achievements will depend on me when I get into Tsinghua or Peking University." Her words directly infuriated the teacher, earning her a 3,000-word self-criticism. I smiled. It was all going according to my plan. Slowly but surely, to make someone fall, you must first make them go mad. Chen Jing was now like a grasshopper in late autumn, frantically jumping around, but she wouldn't be able to jump for much longer. I asked Ning Yao how she was getting along with her dorm mates. Ning Yao looked exasperated. "I heard she's been borrowing money from her dorm mates lately." "Not much, just 200 or 300 from each person, but she doesn't pay them back, and when they ask, she says she has no money. Yet her roommates told me she's bought a lot of new clothes and started secretly wearing makeup. I really don't know what Chen Jing is up to. It's like she's not in her right mind." I sneered. "Buying new clothes and learning makeup, of course. She's planning to market herself as a genius beauty scholar on video platforms after stealing Ning Yao's high score in the college entrance exam." In her previous life, she rode the wave of Ning Yao's zero-score exam scandal and became a hot topic online, almost rivaling entertainment stars within just one summer. As for starting to borrow money, Chen Jing had been supported by me, and although she carried the title of a poor student, she had never actually worried about money. Instead, she lived like a young lady from a wealthy family. Additionally, Yao Yao had been in the same school and always took care of her, whether it was for meals or entertainment, with Yao Yao always footing the bill. Now that Yao Yao ignored her and I cut off her funds, Chen Jing had no pocket money left, relying only on the small amount of financial aid the school provided. Naturally, she couldn't adapt to the real life of a poor student overnight, but this was what she should have endured, wasn't it? However, I didn't expect Chen Jing to be even more spineless than I had anticipated. I thought she could at least hold out for 2 months, but after just over a month, she came back, shamelessly asking to borrow money from me, bringing along a little punk with dyed yellow hair. They waited at the entrance of my company, and as soon as I finished work, they blocked me. As soon as Chen Jing saw me, her face turned pale, and she grabbed my hand, tears streaming down her face. "Auntie He, please, can you lend me 20,000 yuan? I promise I'll definitely pay you back after I finish the college entrance exam." She sure didn't hold back with her request. I told her emotionlessly, "Chen Jing, let me remind you one last time, my support for you has ended, and even during the period of support, I had no obligation to give you extra money. Do you understand?" Upon hearing my blunt refusal, without even asking what she needed the money for, Chen Jing cried even more pitifully. "Auntie He, I've been with you for 7 years. Almost like your own daughter. Are you really this heartless and won't help me anymore?" I hadn't anticipated that Chen Jing would be even more spineless than I had imagined. I thought she would at least last 2 months, but to my surprise, just over a month later, she came back, her face smeared with tears, asking to borrow money from me, accompanied by a scruffy boy with dyed yellow hair. They waited together at the entrance of my company, and as soon as I finished work, they cornered me. The moment Chen Jing saw me, her face turned pale, and she grabbed my hand, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Auntie He, please, can you lend me 20,000 yuan? I promise I'll pay you back after I finish the college entrance exam." Goodness, she sure didn't ask for a small amount, I told her expressionlessly. Chen-Jing, I'm reminding you one last time, my financial support for you has ended, and even during the support period, I had no obligation to give you extra money, do you understand? When Chen-Jing heard me refuse so decisively, without even asking what she needed the money for, she cried even more pitifully, and I've followed you for 7 years, I'm practically half your daughter, are you really so heartless as to abandon me? Annoyed by her, I shook off her hand. Unexpectedly, she used my force against me, collapsing to the ground like someone staging an accident. She got up wronged and aggrieved, continuing to cry, and even went so far as to kneel before me while sobbing. The office building was bustling with people coming and going. She looked like a delicate white flower, deliberately dressed in a high school uniform. To outsiders, this scene seemed as if I were deliberately making things difficult for a high school student. I glanced to the side and, sure enough, the yellow-haired boy was holding his phone, recording the scene, a triumphant smirk on his lips. With the camera's presence, Chen-Jing's performance grew even more exaggerated. Her face turned pale from crying, her eyes swollen red, and she looked on the verge of fainting. Kneeling on the ground, she clutched at the corner of my clothes. Auntie, you promised to sponsor me, but now, with the college entrance exam just around the corner, you're kicking me out of the house. I have no money, I can't even fill my stomach, and I'm dizzy and lightheaded every day. Please, I beg you, help me just one last time, okay? The reason I stayed to watch her performance was that I could hear her thoughts through it. Originally, during this period, Chen-Jing had been fooling around with boys outside and accidentally got pregnant. Although Chen-Jing was reckless, she had grand plans. She still wanted to become a beautiful academic genius and get into Tsinghua University in the future. She believed her future was limitless and naturally didn't think much of this poor little troublemaker. The two of them were just playing around, but being young and inexperienced, neither of them expected that their careless actions would result in a life. Chen-Jing also wanted to use the system to turn things around during the college entrance exam. Of course, this child couldn't be kept, she had to have an abortion, but the boy didn't dare tell his family, and Chen-Jing didn't have any money, which is why she turned her attention to me again. This time, she decided to simply ask for more money, 20,000 yuan, not too much but not too little, enough to cover the abortion and allow her to recuperate properly until summer vacation. By the time summer vacation was over, according to her plan, she would have already become famous, so why would she worry about money then? I coldly watched her acting out on the ground, thinking this charade should be coming to an end soon. Sure enough, after putting on a show, Chen-Jing wiped away a tear, stood up without waiting for me to say anything, and then a broad-shouldered middle-aged woman rushed over. She pulled Chen-Jing along and walked up to the yellow-haired boy. Did you get it all recorded? The boy raised his phone. It's all recorded. The middle-aged woman walked up to me with a provocative look. We've got footage of you bullying Jingjing just now. You sponsored Jingjing, didn't you? Wasn't it just to look like a good person and gain a good reputation? Jingjing is a senior in high school, a soon-to-be college exam taker, yet you kicked her out of your home before her exams and cut off her support. Your actions could ruin her life. Jingjing is asking you to lend her 20,000 yuan today. I suggest you transfer it to her right now, otherwise, we'll upload the video online to expose you and get you fired from your company. I carefully examined this middle-aged woman and called out her name, Jiang Zuehe. She was Chen-Jing's birth mother. Her face visibly paled when I recognized her directly, and she took a step back, clearly guilty, but then forced herself to stand her ground. Even if you call me out, I'm not afraid. We're standing up for college exam takers and revealing the true face of people like you who pretend to be good. Some time ago, I had already investigated privately. Chen-Jing's deceased parents were her biological father and stepmother, while her biological mother had abandoned her at a young age and only recently reconnected with her in the past 2 years. She had no proper job, was lazy and gluttonous, and loved gambling. She couldn't help Chen-Jing at all. On the contrary, she was a burden. Chen-Jing had been afraid that if I found out about her biological mother, I wouldn't take care of her like before, which is why she had deliberately kept it a secret. Now, however, they had all gathered downstairs at my company, threatening me and trying to get me fired. I smiled at Jiang Zuehe. Didn't Chen-Jing tell you that this company is my own? Jiang Zuehe choked for a moment, then stubbornly retorted, being a boss makes you so great. Right now, everyone is focused on the college entrance exam. If we expose you, we can still ruin your reputation, and maybe your company will go bankrupt too. I couldn't help but want to laugh at their naivety. I told them that over the years, I had sponsored many poor students, not just Chen Jing. I never stinted on sponsoring students, but the prerequisite was that they genuinely loved knowledge, cherished opportunities, and had good character. As for her, I was blind before, but she no longer deserves it. After speaking, I signaled to the security guards, and the security team immediately came up to escort them out. Chen Jing glared at me unwillingly, her face as dark as a ghost's. Meanwhile, Jiang Zuehe kept shouting, "You dare to kick us out, don't regret it." After dealing with them, the security captain looked at me with some concern. "Mister, that woman doesn't seem like a good person, aren't you afraid they'll make a big fuss?" I glanced at the surrounding surveillance cameras and took out a hidden phone, smirking. "That's exactly what I'm waiting for. Only when they make a big deal out of it can we settle all the old accounts, right?" A few days later, Chen Jing posted a video online with the title, "Before the college entrance exam, I was bullied by my sponsor." In the video, she wore her faded high school uniform, with the background of a dilapidated rental house. Her red, swollen eyes seemed to show she had endured much grievance, yet she pretended to be strong. He sponsored me just to enhance the positive image of her company and build a charitable persona. On the surface, she let me live in her villa, but I lived in constant fear. Because he would slap me whenever she was in a bad mood. Her daughter was in the same class as me. On the surface, she was affectionate, but behind my back, she often bullied me and even took my phone. In the end, they kicked me out. I'm about to take the college entrance exam, but they treated me like this. I really have no money, so I went to Auntie's company to beg her, but she had someone throw me out again. Netizens, please help me. I really want to live, to study, to take the college entrance exam. What should I do? At the end of the video, she included footage of her half-swollen face after I had slapped her and the scene of her pulling at me and kneeling in front of the company building, begging. The video, tagged with "college entrance exam student," quickly gained traction. Most netizens expressed sympathy for her, while some mindless trolls started cursing my ancestors without hesitation. A few people questioned the authenticity of the video. "The sister is so pitiful. The worst are these bullies who use charity as a front. Just die." Okay, this mother and daughter are really shameless. As a fellow college entrance exam student, sister, don't give up, let's cheer each other on. I don't get it, how old is the sister? Financial aid usually stops at 18, and after that, there's no obligation to continue giving money. After all, they're not real parents, just kind donors. Why are you so cold-hearted upstairs? I hope you're reborn in a poor mountain village and bullied every day next life. Okay, what's wrong with rich people helping others more? Aren't their money all obtained through exploitation and oppression? There's only a month left before the college entrance exam. The school has dorms and canteens, and even if you have to make do with steamed buns and pickles, it's not that bad, right? Is it really that exaggerated to be so poor? Just hold on a little longer, and you can work during the summer vacation. Am I the only one who wants to know how well she's doing academically? Given how much she loves studying, poor students have school subsidies, and students with good grades can also get scholarships. It shouldn't be that dire. Yao Yao saw the video and scrolled through the comments, so angry that she lost her appetite for dinner. "Mom, how come I never saw through Chen Jing's schemes before? Isn't she just spouting nonsense?" Yes, 3 truths mixed with 2 lies. Avoiding the important points and focusing only on stirring up emotions, steering the conversation toward issues like wealth disparity, college entrance exams, and school bullying. Chen Jing really knows a thing or two about marketing psychology. No wonder she always managed to deceive people so thoroughly in her previous life. I patted Ning Yao's hand and told her, "Don't rush, this matter hasn't blown up enough yet. Let her enjoy the limelight for a few more days. The higher public opinion lifts her, the harder she'll fall. Yao Yao, just focus on your studies and keep doing your 5-3 practice papers." Ning Yao nodded, but finally couldn't help asking, "Mom, how did Jing Jing become like this?" I replied, "Who knows, maybe she's always been like this, just hiding it well before, or maybe the arrival of the system gave her the courage and inflated her desires." As I looked out the window at the night sky, I saw in my mind's eye the image of Ning Yao from my previous life, crushed under the wheels of a car, her body mangled, and Chen Jing's smiling face in front of the camera, surrounded by flowers and applause. The juxtaposition of ruins and prosperity, evil driving out innocence, and the inevitable arrival of judgment. Chen Jing's video continued to gain traction, soaring to the top of a certain platform's trending list within just 3 days. the once obscure Chen Jing suddenly became a topic of conversation wherever she went. She used light makeup to craft a fake natural look, portraying herself as a pure and innocent goddess, while also deliberately making herself look haggard to emphasize her poor student persona, embodying a sickly, frail yet resilient little white flower. Ning Yao, who had been a top student throughout high school, often representing the school in various competitions and bringing honor to the institution, was now labeled as a bully by her peers. Chen Jing probably thought she had won, so she called me, gloating and urging me to pay up. Auntie, you've seen the current buzz, netizens are all sympathizing with my plight. This could have been resolved with just 20,000 yuan, but it's your fault for being so stingy and forcing me to do this. I pretended to be somewhat frightened and lowered my voice to ask, Jingjing, why are you making such a big deal out of this? You know very well that although I have indeed accumulated some wealth over the years, I'm not the rich woman that some of my friends make me out to be. Moreover, I've been sponsoring you for 7 whole years, although the contract stipulates an allowance of 800 yuan per month. In reality, your monthly expenses have never been less than 2,000 yuan. You're already 18 years old, and you have your biological mother by your side. I, as your aunt, have nothing to feel guilty about. Why can't we just part ways amicably? Chen Jing, upon hearing this, immediately became extremely impatient. I don't have time to argue with you about all this. In short, transfer the money to me. Once I receive it, I'll naturally send you and Ningyao a video saying a few nice words to calm things down. Otherwise, Auntie, don't blame me. I can make sure you spend the rest of your life like a rat running through the streets, never daring to show your face. Think about Ningyao, who's about to take the college entrance exam. If she's branded as a bully, do you think any prestigious universities would still want her? I was almost amused by Chen Jing's arrogant words, but I forced myself to keep up the act. I pretended to cautiously probe, so, should I still transfer you 20,000 yuan, as expected? As soon as Chen Jing heard this, her tone immediately changed, and her greed took over. 20,000 yuan was the previous price. You didn't cherish it then, and that was your loss. Now you have to transfer 50,000 yuan. I feigned a pained tone, reluctantly asking, 50,000 yuan, Jingjing? You're a high school student about to take the college entrance exam. What on earth do you need so much money for? Isn't 20,000 yuan enough? Chen Jing's tone turned dark. 50,000 yuan is 50,000 yuan, Auntie, this isn't much for you. I'm giving you 1 day, otherwise, I can't guarantee what might happen to Ningyao at school. I replied with a meaningful tone. All right, no problem. She hung up the phone. I glanced at my phone screen and pressed the button to end the call recording. 50,000 yuan, not bad, a good number. I promptly transferred the money to Chen Jing's bank account. Seeing the notification that the transfer was successful, I smiled. Congratulations to her on earning a sentence of 3 to 10 years in prison. As I had anticipated, after receiving the money, Chen Jing did not post anything online to clarify the situation for us. Instead, she started live streaming. The content of her live streams was absolutely outrageous. One day she was broadcasting about struggling students burning the midnight oil to prepare for the college entrance exam, and the next day she was showing her daily life of eating steamed buns and pickles while doing exercises. Before the college entrance exam even began, her popularity had already skyrocketed. Netizens were cheering her on, saying that her efforts would be seen and wishing her success in getting into her dream university. At the same time, the malicious comments towards Ningyao began to escalate, becoming increasingly harsh. What face does a bully have to take the college entrance exam? I heard she's a top student. Could it be that she cheats? Will she return Jingjing's phone? Is she so desperate for money that she would steal someone else's phone? Isn't that considered robbery? A phone is also private property, right? The bully doesn't even dare to respond. She must be feeling guilty. I organized the information and sent it directly to the principal's email. Soon, the principal called me personally, inviting me to come to the school. I also gave the principal Jiang Zueha's contact information. Since we were calling for parents, it wouldn't be right for only me to solve the problem. This is Chen Jing's birth mother's phone number, the principal assured me seriously over the phone, promising to call everyone who needed to be there. I continued to make demands. The entire process must be live-streamed. Netizens have the right to know the truth. The principal agreed without hesitation. No problem. I went to the school as promised. It was a hot summer afternoon. As I raised my umbrella, I happened to see Ning Yao with her high ponytail, standing by the railing of the teaching building, waving at me with a smile. Mom, over here. Today was the 7th day of our agreement, and she hadn't been affected by the online harassment. Just as I had instructed, she was focused on her studies, ignoring everything else and diligently working on her exercises. Ning Yao and I arrived together at the principal's office. The principal personally brewed 2 cups of fine Xinyang Maojian tea and sincerely apologized. It was the school's oversight, and these days Ning Yao has been wronged. I smiled as I accepted the tea, glancing at the camera in the room, knowing that everything happening in this room was being quietly live-streamed. No rush, let's wait for Chen Jing to arrive first. Soon, Chen Jing arrived with Jiang Zuehe. They thought the principal had called us here to mediate the conflict and make me apologize to them. When they entered the principal's office, the mother-daughter duo carried themselves with an arrogance that was almost unbearable. Jiang Zuehe immediately started playing the victim. Principal, an apology is just a matter of moving our lips. We don't accept that. The suffering our Jing has endured these days requires compensation for mental distress. The principal's face turned dark. I smiled and asked, "What? Did you already spend the 50,000 yuan I gave you so quickly?" Jiang Zuehe looked confused. "What 50,000 yuan? What are you talking about?" I glanced at Chen Jing, who had a dark expression and a hint of embarrassment in her eyes. It seemed she had pocketed the 50,000 yuan herself and hadn't told her gambling-addicted mother. That wouldn't do. It's more entertaining to watch them turn on each other, so I kindly explained to Jiang Zuehe, "Just 3 days ago, Jing asked me for 50,000 yuan, didn't she tell you?" Jiang Zuehe was stunned for a moment, then realized what was going on and immediately flew into a rage. Without a word, she turned around and slapped Chen Jing hard across the face. "You ungrateful wretch. Knowing your mother is in debt and short of money, you dare to hide 50,000 yuan, transfer the money to me right now." Chen Jing staggered back several steps from the blow, and when she looked up, her eyes burned with venomous hatred as she glared at Jiang Zuehe. "You dare to hit me?" she asked, her words dripping with venom. Jiang Zuehe, furious, stepped forward and slapped Chen Jing again. "Why can't I hit you? I'm your mother. Without me, there wouldn't be you. Hand over the money right now." As soon as this mother and daughter stepped into the principal's office, they started arguing before even being asked a few questions. The principal's face turned so dark it was frightening. He quickly had them separated, and the scene was quite ugly. Ning Yao and I didn't say a word the entire time, just sat quietly and watched. Taking advantage of the commotion, I opened my phone and logged into the live stream. Casually glancing at the comments, the number of viewers on the live stream was skyrocketing. In just a few short minutes, it had already surpassed 1 million viewers. It was undeniable that holding back and letting Chen Jing build up the heat was the right move these past few days. Netizens love gossip, but they love twists even more. From the moment Chen Jing entered the principal's office and was caught on the live stream camera, her image was already shattered. Netizens were shocked. "What's this about 50,000 yuan? Didn't she just eat steamed buns and pickles these past few days? I get it now, the sponsor must have given her another 50,000 yuan, but she's still putting on a show and playing the victim in the live stream. Wait, she has a mother, so why is she asking her sponsor for money? 50,000 yuan is no small amount. Damn, she's richer than me. The sponsor is way too generous. I'm easy to please, just cute, not playing the victim. Sponsor auntie, how about giving me a look?" Sisters, we weren't used as pawns, were we? As the netizens' discussion grew more heated, I finally spoke up. "Unfortunately, Chen Jing can't give you that 50,000 yuan, she has to return it to me intact, at once." Both Chen Jing and Jiang Zuehe seemed to find this hilarious. Chen Jing sneered, "You wish, that money was given voluntarily, it's a gift, why should I return it to you?" Jiang Zuehe chimed in as well, "You're not her mother, I am, she should hand the money over to me." I scoffed, too lazy to waste words with them, and directly played the recorded phone call from that day. In the recording, Chen Jing's arrogant tone and the process of her threatening me were crystal clear. I told them, "This is considered extortion. Chen Jing, you're already 18, no longer a minor. Not only do you have to return the money in full, but you'll also have to face criminal liability." Additionally, the recording included a few points I explained. First, the money I gave Chen Jing every month was never less than 2,000 yuan, far exceeding the standard for sponsorship. Second, she has a mother, but she deceived me, making me believe she was an orphan. Netizens may not have been clear about the truth, but they weren't stupid. Now that the truth was beginning to unfold, everyone realized they had been manipulated before. Chen Jing and Jiang Zuehe still wanted to speak, but I was too lazy to give them any more opportunities to wriggle out of it. What I brought today wasn't just the recording. For convenience, I had already asked the principal to prepare another screen for me, so we could live stream everything to the netizens simultaneously. The first video I played was the surveillance footage of Chen Jing borrowing money at the downstairs of my company. Chen Jing had once broadcast the process of borrowing money online, but obviously, her version was staged. The version I played had a wider angle and more information. Jiang Zuehe and the yellow-haired boy who had helped Chen Jing with the photo shoot were both clearly recorded by the camera. As Chen Jing watched, her expression grew increasingly panicked. I sneered and reminded her, "Don't worry, there's more to come." I then started playing the second video, which was surveillance footage I had retrieved from my home. At first, the scene was warm and pleasant, showing Ning Yao celebrating Chen Jing's birthday. The two girls happily sang the birthday song, blew out the candles, and then Ning Yao presented Chen Jing with her gift, which was that very phone. The scenes that followed became quite eerie. Chen Jing, under the surveillance, kept holding the phone, trying to secretly take photos of Ning Yao. Of course, I didn't actually show the private photos, but Chen Jing's suspicious behavior in the surveillance footage spoke volumes. Seeing this, Chen Jing's face turned completely pale. "No, I was just taking random photos." Unfortunately, even she didn't believe that excuse. I no longer hid anything and directly addressed the live stream camera. Chen Jing's phone was bought by my daughter for her, originally intended as a birthday gift, but later, I discovered that Chen Jing had been secretly taking private photos of my daughter and trying to sell them for profit. To ensure my daughter's privacy wasn't leaked, we confiscated the phone. Before this, I had almost treated Chen Jing as if she were my adopted daughter, never once abusing or mistreating her. The online claims about her being bullied are pure slander. The comments from netizens have already made me furious. Damn, even last night's dinner is about to come up because of Chen Jing's disgusting behavior. I used to cheer her on every day, and she acted so well. You can't judge a person by their appearance. I'm sorry, I need to apologize to Auntie and the brilliant girl. Yes, we all owe Auntie and the brilliant girl an apology. Call the police, call the police. Auntie, hurry and call the police. I watched as Chen Jing's rise and fall unfolded before my eyes. The entire process lasted only 7 short days. Chen Jing has already realized that she was being live-streamed the entire time. She was completely stunned, her face pale, her eyes hollow and lifeless. I could hear her thoughts. She was frantically calling out in her mind, "System, are you there? Help me, please. You said you could help me turn my life around. Now help me turn it around." Unlike before, this time I could also hear the system's voice. It was a mechanical, emotionless electronic voice. "I am the score exchange system. The only thing I can reverse is your college entrance exam scores." Chen Jing completely fell apart. I smiled and turned to face the camera, continuing to speak to the netizens. Chen Jing is not the first student I've sponsored, nor will she be the last. In fact, many of the students I've sponsored have never even met me, yet some have been admitted to top universities like 985 or Tsinghua and Peking University, while others, though not admitted to top-tier schools, have still chosen the paths they should take. Whether their results were good or bad, I have never regretted sponsoring them. Only Chen Jing has been the most disappointing. My husband was a teacher, and before he passed away due to illness, he dragged his body to finish the last class for his students. He often told me, "The essence of education is not to make all seeds bloom into flowers, but to let flowers bloom as flowers, trees grow as trees, and fruits bear as fruits." I turned my gaze to Chen Jing. "If you make a mistake, you should apologize. If you harm someone, you should pay the price." With that, I took out my phone and, in front of millions of live stream viewers, dialed the police. "Hello, I'd like to report a case. Someone has been blackmailing and extorting me, with a significant amount involved, over 50,000 yuan. They have also taken private photos of my daughter and attempted to sell them." Later, the police issued a notice stating that Chen Jing and her mother were involved in extortion, blackmail, voyeurism, selling and disseminating obscene materials, while the other was involved in gambling and fraud. This time, they no longer needed to cry about not having enough to eat, as prison food would keep them full. The school expelled Chen Jing, and she didn't even get her high school diploma. Later, the college entrance exam arrived as scheduled, and her daughter was admitted to Tsinghua University as she wished. Many people online were still paying attention to Ning Yao, but she focused on her studies and never appeared in public again after that. The other classmates also endured the hellish 3 years of high school and embarked on another journey of life, before going to university. Ning Yao curiously asked me, Mom, how did you decide to sponsor Chen Jing back then? There must have been something about her that touched you. I thought for a moment. Yes, she did touch me. Before I sponsored Chen Jing's education, I went to the countryside to meet her. At that time, Chen Jing was still in a rural elementary school classroom. The girl was small and dark, wearing tattered clothes, yet she was previewing a junior high school Chinese textbook. When I approached her, she was just reciting the line, "Heaven has endowed me with talents, and I will surely make use of them. 1,000 pieces of gold spent, and they will come back again." Her eyes were pure then, and at such a young age, she seemed to contain great energy. I could see that she longed to leave the remote countryside, and she knew that knowledge could change her fate. I asked her if she liked studying. She smiled brightly, showing her teeth. "I like it," I continued. "Why do you like studying?" She held up her textbook and told me, "The teacher said that studying can clarify principles, enlighten wisdom, and cure foolishness." A slight pang of sadness hit me, and I couldn't help but pat her head and take her hand. "Come with Auntie. Auntie will take you to study." "Okay, okay, okay." She clapped her hands excitedly, jumping up and tightly holding my hand. "Thank you, Auntie." I thought that the world was vast, and that by leaving that small mountain village, she could carve out a place for herself through her own efforts, so I chose her. But perhaps the process of striving was too difficult, and she lost herself. She forgot the truths she had once recited with her own mouth, and believed that everything could be stolen. Her heart was covered in dust, and her soul sank into the mud. She completely betrayed my goodwill and wasted her own life. Curiously, I asked Ning Yao, Yao, if a system suddenly appeared and told you that you didn't need to study hard, and that it could help you swap scores with others during the college entrance exam, what would you do? Ning Yao laughed after hearing this. "Mom, if such a system really existed, I'd wonder what its intentions were. Is it trying to turn me into a lazy good-for-nothing? I think it's better to believe in the nights I've stayed up and the problems I've solved, rather than waiting for some miracle to fall from the sky." Yes, the campus at 6 in the morning is really dark, but the view at the finish line is truly beautiful. Congratulations to her. This time she finally got what she wished for. Extra, when Chen Jing was released from prison, she was already 30 years old. She only had a middle school diploma, had served time, and was out of touch with society, making it difficult to find even a menial job. She had countless times imagined herself entering Tsinghua University in a glamorous manner, standing under the spotlight, being admired by everyone, and surrounded by flowers. She even repeatedly dreamed the same dream. In the dream, she took the college entrance exam and successfully swapped her score with Ning Yao's. Ning Yao was really impressive, scoring 743 points and becoming the top scorer. After the score swap, Ning Yao had 0 points and became a fool, eventually dying in a car accident. She saw Ning Yao's death, yet in the dream, she felt no guilt at all. She shamelessly enjoyed the life that should have belonged to Ning Yao. Finally entering Tsinghua University, the system only activated during the college entrance exam. She had been abandoned by the system. Every time she woke from a dream, she was drenched in cold sweat. She couldn't tell whether the experiences in her dreams were more terrifying or reality more ruthless. She finally recalled her former self, who had once made a firm decision to work hard. When that woman went to the mountain village to find her, she asked if she liked to read. The woman took her hand and said she could give her many, many books to read. Back then, she had been filled with hope and gratitude, vowing to follow her, listen to her, study hard, and change her fate. But later, she became lax. She didn't know when jealousy had started to take root in her heart. Was it too late to regret now? Years of prison had ground away all her hopes. At 18, she had lived recklessly, without self-respect, and as a result, she lost her first child, the only child she would ever have. Before the system disengaged, she had suffered electric shock punishment. The prison doctor had saved her life, but told her she would never conceive again. It turned out that the cost of doing wrong was far greater than this. After being released from prison, she could only do menial labor like washing dishes and carrying plates, always keeping her head low. One day, by chance, she saw a news report on TV, featuring a young and beautiful female professor giving an academic lecture. She exuded confidence and brilliance in front of the camera. Chen Jing recognized her. It was Ning Yao, the same Ning Yao who had once shared meals and living quarters with her, who had always taken care of her wherever they went, the same Ning Yao who had pulled her out of bed before dawn to memorize vocabulary and formulas together, the Ning Yao who had stayed up late, her eyes bloodshot, just to explain a crucial exam question to her. It turned out that Ning Yao had once tried so hard to hold her hand and pass on the light to her, but she had foolishly refused, turning her back and plunging into darkness. Many years later, in a small, dingy noodle shop, a disheveled dishwasher suddenly burst into loud sobs in front of the television. Alas, flowers may bloom again, but a person never regains their youth. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. Grandma has a system, bound to me and my cousin, ensuring his scores are always 200 points higher than mine. My cousin never studies, yet his scores are consistently 200 points above mine. I thought he was a genius, while I was the stupid, worthless burden Grandma always called me. I worked extremely hard for the college entrance exam and scored 530. My cousin scored 730, becoming the top student in the province. It was only by overhearing a conversation between Grandma and my cousin that I learned about this system. I never imagined that all my efforts would end up being their stepping stone. After the college entrance exam, my grandmother wouldn't let me go to university and sold me to the old bachelor in his 50s at the village entrance, using the 300,000 yuan bride price she received to rent an apartment in Beijing for my cousin. On the night of my wedding to the old bachelor, I stabbed myself to death with a pair of scissors. When I opened my eyes again, I had gone back 1 month before the college entrance exam. This time, I'm going to score over 600 points and see how my cousin will handle it. Note, the full score for China's college entrance exam is 750 points. The moment the scissors pierced my chest, I actually felt a sense of relief. The old bachelor's snores still echoed in my ears. Mingling with the stench of cheap liquor, I looked down at the blood spreading across the red wedding dress, its color deeper and darker than the fabric itself. Gu Miao Miao, you worthless girl are finally of some use. My grandmother's smiling face, as she counted the 300,000 yuan bride price, flashed before my eyes. Idiot, this money will keep me living it up in Beijing for quite a while. My cousin Gu Lin's smug voice echoed in my ears. As my consciousness gradually faded, I heard a cold voice. System detects host death. Abnormal energy fluctuations detected, activating emergency protocol. In excruciating pain, my eyes snapped open. Before me was my familiar desk, the open college entrance exam practice paper still resting on the last major problem. The calendar on the wall showed 30 days until the college entrance exam. I have been reborn. My fingers trembled as they reached for my chest. No wound, no blood, yet the agony of being pierced by scissors felt terrifyingly real. Worthless girl, what are you daydreaming about again? Grandma's scolding voice drifted up from downstairs. Is Gu Lin's bird's nest soup ready yet? I took a deep breath, suppressing the surge of hatred churning inside me. In my previous life, it wasn't until the moment before I died that I overheard the conversation between Grandma and Gu Lin, finally learning about the existence of that so-called bonus point system. Grandma, it's almost ready, I heard myself answer obediently, my voice betraying not a hint of anything unusual. In the kitchen, I mechanically stirred the bird's nest soup in the clay pot, but my thoughts drifted back to the college entrance exam. In my past life, I had struggled desperately to score 530 points, while Gu Lin, who never studied, became the provincial top scorer with 730 points. Everyone called him a genius, while I was the stupid, worthless girl. In Grandma's mouth, the steam blurred my vision as I tightened my grip on the spoon. In this life, I will bring the truth to light. Sis, where's my bird's nest soup? Gu Lin leaned against the kitchen doorway, his 18-year-old face full of arrogance. He was wearing the latest Nike shoes, a price I couldn't afford even after working for 3 months during summer break. Coming right up, I kept my head down as I ladled the bird's nest soup into an exquisite porcelain bowl. Gu Lin took the bowl and suddenly leaned close to my ear. The mock exam results are out. I got 652, you got 452. Exactly 200 points higher than you, you idiot. He deliberately emphasized the 200. My fingers trembled, nearly tipping the bowl over. In my past life, I thought this was just a coincidence. But now I know, it's that damn system at work. Congratulations, you're really amazing. I forced a smile, my nails digging deep into my palms. Gu Lin snorted with satisfaction, swaggering away with the bird's nest soup. I stared at his retreating figure, a plan slowly taking shape in my mind. Since the system will always make Gu Lin score 200 points higher than mine, what if I score above 600? The total score for the college entrance exam is only 750, how can Gu Lin be 200 points higher than me? Then, I opened my notebook and wrote two numbers on the first page, 718 and 918. These are the surprises I'm going to give Gulin and Grandma. Outside the window, the May's sunlight was just right. I squinted, feeling the first glimmer of hope since my rebirth. This time, I'm going to tear their lies apart with my own hands. At 5 in the morning, I quietly got out of bed. Using the faint light from my phone to review, Grandma thought taking away my desk lamp would stop me from studying, but she didn't know that rebirth had given me not just memories, but also a bone-deep hatred as my driving force. I opened my math notebook, densely filled with questions from the college entrance exam in my previous life. A score of 530 wasn't high, but it was enough for me to remember those problems that had once made me scratch my head in frustration. Meow meow, what are you doing? Mom pushed the door open, her voice hushed. I quickly stuffed my phone under the pillow. Mom, I can't sleep, Mom sighed, and handed me an egg and half an ear of corn. Eat quickly, don't let your grandma see. Her rough hand touched my face. Mom knows you've been wronged. My nose stung. In my past life, Mom was the only one who was good to me, but on the day I was sold to the old bachelor, Grandma locked her in the cellar. Mom, don't worry. I gripped her hand tightly. This time, things will definitely be different. Mom looked at me with confusion, and I quickly changed the subject. I'll go make breakfast. In the kitchen, as I simmered the porridge, I reviewed the science knowledge points in my mind. In my previous life, I only scored 180 in science, which dragged me down. This time, I need to make a breakthrough. Waste of money. The porridge is boiling over. Grandma's cane struck my back heavily, my hand trembled, and I hurriedly turned off the stove. I'm sorry, Grandma, always so absent-minded. No wonder your grades are so poor. Grandma glared at me. Gulin has his second mock exam today. Later, take his backpack to school for him. Okay, Grandma. After Grandma left, I lifted my school uniform to find a bruise already forming on my back. I endured this kind of beating and scolding for 18 years in my past life, right up until the day I was sold off. With an expressionless face, I ladled out the porridge and then headed to Gulin's room. His backpack was carelessly tossed on the floor, his brand-name sneakers scattered haphazardly. I crouched down, pretending to tidy up his bag, and quickly flipped through his notebook. It was practically brand new, with only a few scribbles and doodles on the first few pages. This is the true face of a genius. What are you doing? Gulin suddenly appeared at the door, his voice icy. I calmly zipped up the backpack. Grandma asked me to bring you your school bag. He snatched the backpack away, checked it, and sneered. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. How could someone like you ever compare to me? I kept my head down without saying a word. Gulin suddenly grabbed my chin, forcing me to look up. Remember, you'll always be 200 points below me. That's fate. I looked at his smug face and suddenly smiled. Yes, that's fate. My compliance satisfied Gulin, and he let go. After he left, I wiped my chin and made another note in my notebook. There were 25 days left until the college entrance exam. This invisible war had only just begun. The results of the third mock exam are out, the class monitor announced. From the podium, Gulin scored 682, ranking first in the grade. The classroom erupted in gasps and applause. Gulin stood up proudly, feigning modesty as he waved his hand dismissively. Gu meow meow, 452 points. When the class monitor read my name, there was a hint of pity in his tone. I calmly walked up to the podium to collect my test paper. This score was carefully calculated. 200 points lower than Gulin, just enough to avoid suspicion without being so poor as to invite more ridicule. TSK. TSK, the difference between the siblings is really huge. I heard they were born to the same parents. How can they be so different? The classmates' whispers reached my ears, and I returned to my seat without changing my expression. After school, I deliberately walked very slowly, making sure Gulin could see me reciting my lessons in the grove. He took the bait as expected. Stop pretending, you idiot. Gulin kicked the book at my feet. No matter how much you study, it's useless. With reddened eyes, I stubbornly replied, I will definitely do well on the exam. All right, I'll be waiting. Gulin bowed exaggeratedly. But let me remind you, I estimated my college entrance exam score to be around 720. As for you, 520 at most. Watching his retreating figure, I dropped the act and calmly wiped away the forced tears. The fish has taken the bait. Back home, Grandma had already heard about the results of the third mock exam and was sitting in the main hall waiting for me. Kneel down, she shouted sternly. I obediently knelt, the hard stone floor digging painfully into my knees. You brought shame upon the entire Gu family. Grandma's cane rained down on my back like a storm. Gu Lin is so outstanding. How could he have such a useless sister like you? I bit my lip and remained silent, but inwardly I sneered. Excellent. Without that system, Gu Lin wouldn't even have been able to get into a junior college. Starting today, you are not allowed to go to school anymore. Grandma finally declared, stay home and work. Once the college entrance exams are over, we'll arrange a marriage for you. I looked up sharply. Grandma, I want to take the college entrance exam. Take what exam? With your lousy grades, you'd only embarrass us. Grandma spat. The Wang family's son has taken a liking to you. They've already paid half the bride price. I was shivering all over. In my previous life, the marriage proposal was made after the college entrance exam, but this time it's been moved up. Could it be that my rebirth has caused a butterfly effect? Mom, Meow Meow is still young. My mother timidly spoke up. Shut up. Grandma struck my mother's leg with her cane. We've raised this worthless girl for 18 years. Shouldn't we get some return on our investment? At night, I curled up in the cramped storage room. This was my room. Moonlight streamed in through the small window as I opened the practice exam booklet hidden under the bedboard and began silently writing out essay templates. Not being able to go to school was exactly what I wanted. This way, I could focus all my energy on preparing for the college entrance exam without worrying about my usual grades revealing my true abilities. Footsteps sounded outside the door, and I quickly hid the materials. The door was pushed open a crack, and my mother slipped in a steamed bun and a notebook. Your teacherly asked me to give this to you, my mother whispered. She said, she believes in you. I took the notebook. It was a set of college entrance exam sprint materials personally compiled by Teacher Lee. In my previous life, she was also the only teacher who never gave up on me. Mom, I'll get in. I clenched my fists in the darkness. I definitely will. Mom patted my head and gently closed the door. I opened my notebook and began studying voraciously under the moonlight. There were 15 days left until the college entrance exam, and I had to seize every second. 1 week before the exam, the atmosphere at home was eerily calm. Grandma was busy discussing my marriage with the matchmaker, and Gu Lin was nowhere to be seen all day. Rumor had it he was relaxing at an internet cafe. No one paid any attention to what I, the doomed to fail, money loser, was up to. I used this time to go over the college entrance exam questions from my past life 3 times, especially for the science section. I focused on tackling those physics problems that had once left me completely stumped. Meow Meow, come out. Grandma suddenly called for me in the yard. I hid my study materials and hurried outside. Standing in the yard was a middle-aged man with a face full of wrinkles, none other than Wang Degue, the old bachelor who had bought me for 300,000 yuan in my past life. This is your Uncle Wang. Grandma smiled, her face crinkling with wrinkles. Say hello. I forced down my disgust. Hello, Uncle Wang. Wang Degue squinted as he looked me up and down, his gaze as uncomfortable as a slimy snake. The girl is really pretty, even more beautiful than in the photo. I clenched the hem of my clothes, my nails digging deep into my palms. Memories of being humiliated by him in my past life flooded back like a tide, and I could barely control my trembling. Brother Wang, don't you worry, this girl may not be much of a student, but she's hardworking and has wide hips, good for bearing children, Grandma said, as if introducing livestock. Once the college entrance exams are over, she'll be married off. Good, 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 Wang Degue grinned, revealing a mouthful of yellowed teeth. I've already got the 300,000 yuan ready, just waiting for, Grandma. I cut him off sharply. I can get into university. I scored over 500 on the mock exam this time. Grandma's face darkened. What good is 500 points? Gu Lin can easily score over 700 without even trying. And you, what if I can score over 600 points? I looked straight into Grandma's eyes. Will you let me go to university then? The courtyard suddenly fell silent. Grandma's eyes flickered for a moment before she sneered. With your ability, fine. If you can score 600 points, I'll let you go to university. If you can't, you'll obediently get married. Deal? I agreed quickly, afraid she might change her mind. Wang Degue muttered a few words of dissatisfaction but was soothed by Grandma and sent away. I stood there, my heart pounding like thunder. This bet was exactly what I wanted. In my previous life, I had struggled to score 530 points, but this time, I was confident I could score over 700. Sis, what kind of beautiful dream are you having? Gu Lin had returned at some point, leaning against the doorframe and sneering. 600 points, you can barely even reach 500. I kept my head down and said nothing. acting like a fool who didn't know her own limits. Gu Lin leaned close to my ear, lowering his voice. Stop struggling. With the system in place, you'll always be 200 points lower than me. Want to score 600? Then I'd have to get 800. Is that even possible? I pretended to be shocked. What? System. Gu Lin realized he had let slip and immediately corrected himself. I mean, this is fate. Accept it, you fool. He laughed and went back to his room. I stood where I was, the corners of my mouth curling up involuntarily. Gu Lin and Grandma had no idea that the trap they had so carefully designed was about to backfire. With only 3 days left until the college entrance exam, I couldn't wait to see the look of shock on their faces. Chapter 5, The Ultimate Showdown. On the day of the college entrance exam, the weather was unusually clear. The school gate was crowded with parents seeing their children off. I walked through the crowd alone. Of course, my grandmother wouldn't come to send me off. She was busy preparing for my wedding with Wang Degue. Meow meow. Teacher Li called out to me and handed me a bottle of water. Just relax and do your best. I gratefully took the water. Thank you, teacher. Don't overthink it. Focus on the exam first. Teacher Li patted my shoulder meaningfully. She had probably heard about me being forced into marriage. In the examination hall, I found my seat and took deep breaths to calm my racing heart. The college entrance exam in this life was exactly the same as I remembered. Even the invigilator was the same person. When the Chinese language test paper was handed out, I quickly skimmed through the essay topic, on the light in adversity. I remembered this topic all too clearly. In my previous life, I had written a complete mess, but in this life, I had polished it countless times in my mind. The pen tip glided smoothly across the answer sheet as I poured the suffering and resistance of 2 lifetimes into the words. By the time I reached the final paragraph, my eyes were slightly moist. 15 minutes left until the end of the exam, the invigilator reminded. I reviewed my answer sheet once more, then set down my pen with satisfaction. This time, my Chinese score was bound to improve by at least 30 points. The following math and science comprehensive exams felt like second nature to me. Those once difficult problems that used to leave me scratching my head were now solved with ease under my pen, especially for the final comprehensive electromagnetism question in physics. I even provided 2 different solutions. For the last subject, English, I deliberately controlled my answering pace to avoid appearing too unusual. But during the listening section, I couldn't help but let a smile curl at the corners of my mouth. I remembered every single answer clearly. When the bell signaling the end of the exam rang, I let out a long sigh of relief. Stepping out of the examination hall, the sunlight was so bright it made me squint. This revenge, which I had prepared for 2 months, had finally completed its most crucial step. How did the exam go? Gu Lin suddenly appeared in front of me, wearing a nauseatingly fake smile. Don't tell me you bombed it again. I deliberately put on a dejected expression. The questions were too hard. Gu Lin burst into laughter, drawing sidelong glances from those around us. I knew it. A pig will always be a pig. He leaned in close to my ear. I've already arranged with reporters to interview me, the future top scorer, on the day the results are released. Grandma wants you to check your score at the same time, so everyone can see just how big the gap is. I lowered my head, my shoulders trembling slightly, not from fear, but from suppressed laughter. All right, I said softly, I'm looking forward to it. Gu Linji walked away, full of pride. Watching his retreating figure, I took out my phone and sent a text to Teacher Li. Teacher, I did well on the exam. I should be able to score over 600. Teacher Li quickly replied, that's wonderful. No matter the outcome, I'll do everything I can to help you get into university. I put away my phone and looked up at the clear blue sky. This time, my fate was in my own hands. Chapter 6. The truth revealed. On the day of the college entrance exam score release, my family's courtyard was packed with people. Gu Lin had grandly invited reporters from the county television station and newspaper, ready to ceremoniously announce his status as the provincial top scorer. Grandma, dressed in her finest clothes, greeted the reporters with a beaming face. This is my grandson Gu Lin. He's been clever since he was a child, and this year's college entrance exam score estimate is over 720. Grandma proudly introduced him to the reporter, and this is my granddaughter, Gu Miao Miao. She also took the exam, but as for her results, she deliberately paused, drawing a wave of knowing laughter. I stood quietly in the corner, wearing a faded school uniform, feeling like an outsider. Dear viewers, we are now at the home of top scorer Gu Lin, about to witness the moment of checking the scores. The female reporter said excitedly to the camera, Student Gu, can you tell us how you're feeling right now? Gu Lin cleared his throat pretentiously, very nervous, but I think I performed well. I hope to bring honor to my hometown. Then let's start checking the scores now. The reporter turned to me. Will Gu's sister also check her scores together? Of course, Gu Lin answered eagerly, a malicious glint in his eyes. Let everyone see the real difference between a true genius and an ordinary person. The reporter felt a bit awkward, but still aimed the camera at my computer. I calmly entered my exam admission number and password, then clicked to search. The screen spun a few times, then displayed the results: Chinese 138, Math 145, English 142, Science Comprehensive 293, total score 718 points. The reporter exclaimed in shock, This is already a top scholar-level score." The scene erupted in an uproar. Grandma's expression froze, and Gu Lin's face instantly turned deathly pale. Impossible. Gu Lin shrieked as she rushed over. There must be a mistake. I feigned surprise. How could this be? I usually only score around 500 points. The reporter was already shouting excitedly into the camera. Viewers, an unexpected turn of events. Gu Miao Miao has scored an impressive 718 points. This could very well be this year's provincial top scorer. The camera immediately turned to Gu Lin. Gu Lin, it's your turn to check your score now. You estimated over 720 points. Could you possibly score even higher than your sister? Gu Lin's hands trembled like a sieve, and he entered the wrong password several times. Finally, he clicked the query button. The computer screen suddenly flickered with static, then displayed an astonishing number, 918 points. The entire hall fell silent for a second, then erupted into even louder exclamations. 918 points. Isn't the total score for the college entrance exam only 750? Is the system glitching? This is just too fake. The reporter was the first to react. This is clearly a system error. Contact the examination board immediately. Gu Lin's face turned ashen, while Grandma stared at me as if she had seen a ghost. I stood in place, wearing a perfectly measured expression of shock and confusion. Grandma, how did my brother score 918 points? I asked innocently. Isn't the maximum score for the college entrance exam only 750? Grandma's lips trembled, unable to utter a single word. The scene was in chaos. The reporter urgently contacted the Provincial Examination Institute, and the staff stated they would immediately verify the situation. In less than an hour, the preliminary verification results came out. Gu Lin's actual score was only 155 points. 155 points, the reporter repeated in disbelief. But why did the system show 918 points? The staff from the Examination Institute explained over the phone. We suspect someone attempted to hack into the system to alter the scores, causing abnormal data. The specific cause is still under investigation. The camera turned to me, and the reporter asked excitedly, Classmate Gu Miao Miao, your usual performance isn't outstanding, so how did you manage to score 718 points this time? I looked into the camera and gave a shy smile. Maybe it's because, this time, no one scored 200 points higher than me. That sentence exploded like a bomb on the scene. Grandma let out a scream that sounded almost inhuman, while Gu Lin collapsed to the ground as if all the bones had been pulled from his body. The reporter quickly caught the key point. What do you mean? What do you mean by, no one scored 200 points higher than you? I stared into the camera and said, word by word, my grandma has a system that ensures Gu Lin's score is always 200 points higher than mine. This time, I scored 718 points, and the system tried to make Gu Lin score 918 points. But, before she could finish, Grandma suddenly rushed forward to hit me. You wretch, how dare you talk nonsense? The reporter and cameraman quickly stopped her. The scene had completely spiraled out of control, but all of it was faithfully recorded by the camera. That very night, a comparison chart of Gu Lin's and my college entrance exam results went viral, with hashtags like #mysterious bonus point system # and #the real versus fake top scorer #, setting the entire internet ablaze. And I, Gu Miao Miao, once the money-losing burden, had now become an inspirational figure of sympathy across the web. A month later, I received the admission letter from Tsinghua University. Gu Lin and Grandma were investigated for suspected involvement in college entrance exam fraud. That mysterious system was never found, but they admitted to cheating on exams for many years. Upon hearing that I had become the top scorer in the province, Wang Degue fled back to his hometown overnight and never dared to mention the marriage again. Miao Miao, Mom is sorry for you. Mom hugged me and cried bitterly. I didn't know you had suffered so much injustice. I gently patted her back. It's all over now, Mom. Teacher Lee helped me contact the media, exposing my grandmother's favoritism toward boys and her coercion to force her granddaughter into marriage. With the help of various sectors of society, my mother and I finally moved out of that nightmarish home. The day before school started, I went to the police station to give my final statement. Does the system really exist? The young female police officer asked curiously. I smiled and said, who knows, maybe it's just a coincidence. Stepping out of the police station, the September sun warmly fell on my shoulders. I took a deep breath and strode toward a new life. At the entrance of Tsinghua Garden, I encountered a reporter who had come to interview me, Student Gu, as the provincial top scorer who made a remarkable comeback. What would you like to say to everyone? I looked into the camera and gave a sincere smile. I want to tell all the girls like me, don't resign yourself to fate, don't give up, life may be unfair, but we can rewrite it with our own hands. The reporter pressed further. Do you hate your grandmother and cousin? I fell silent for a moment. I did, but now, I only thank them for making me stronger. The moment I stepped into Tsinghua University, I turned and looked back at the path I had traveled. The Gu Miao Miao who was once called a money-losing burden had died in the bloody night before my rebirth, and now, standing here, was the new me, reborn from the ashes. My phone vibrated once. A message from Mom. Miao Miao, I'm so proud of you. I smiled, put away my phone, and strode toward the academic building. There, a brand new life awaited me, ready to be written. The sycamore leaves in Tsinghua Garden rustled in the autumn wind. Standing in front of the dormitory building with my suitcase, I looked up at the red brick structure. Just 2 months ago, I was the money-losing burden, in my grandmother's words, but now I stood here as the provincial top scorer. Classmate, need some help? A girl with a ponytail greeted me warmly. I instinctively took half a step back, then realized my awkwardness and forced a smile. Thank you, I can manage on my own. The girl didn't seem to mind. You're Gu Miao Miao, right? I've seen you in the news. I'm Lin Xiaoyu, from the dorm across from yours. My fingers tightened around the handle of my suitcase. After the media exposure, I had become somewhat known as an anti-sun preference activist, but this reputation was a double-edged sword. Don't be nervous, Lin Xiaoyu said with a wink. No one will bother you here. Do you need me to show you the way? I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Lin Xiaoyu was as lively as a little bird, pointing out the locations of the cafeteria and teaching buildings along the way. I silently committed them to memory while remaining vigilant, carefully observing my surroundings. Here we are, room 302. Lin Xiaoyu pushed the door open for me. Your roommate hasn't arrived yet, so you can choose your bed first. The 4-person dormitory was clean and bright. I chose the lower bunk by the window. It offered the best view and would allow me to see anyone approaching right away. After setting down my luggage, I immediately checked the sturdiness of the door lock and the windows, a habit I had developed since my rebirth. There's a new student meet and greet tonight, don't forget to come. With those words, Lin Xiaoyu bounced away. I closed the door, let out a long sigh, and finally truly relaxed. Reaching under the pillow, I pulled out my phone and saw 3 unread messages. Mom, Miao Miao, have you arrived at the school? I transferred 2,000 yuan to your card. Don't be too frugal. Teacher Lee, how is Tsinghua's environment? Feel free to reach out if you run into any difficulties. Unknown number. You think this is over? Just wait and see. The last line made my blood run cold in an instant. Was it Gu Lin, or Grandma? They should have already been investigated. I quickly took a screenshot to save it, then deleted the text message. No matter who the other person was, I wasn't afraid. I had already experienced the pain of the scissors piercing my chest during my rebirth. What else could possibly scare me? While packing my luggage, I deliberately hid the notebook filled with past college entrance exam questions at the very bottom of the suitcase. It had already served its purpose, but I wanted to keep it as a reminder of how desperate I once was, and how strong I had become. At 7 o'clock in the evening, I arrived punctually at the freshman orientation. The classroom was filled with energetic new classmates, chatting in small groups and laughing constantly. I found a seat in the corner and tried my best not to draw any attention. Everyone, quiet. The counselor clapped her hands. First, let's welcome our provincial top scorer, Gu Miao Miao. All eyes turned to me in unison. I froze in place. The counselor waved enthusiastically. Miao Miao, come up and introduce yourself. Amidst the applause, I mechanically walked up to the podium, my throat tight. Hello everyone, I'm Gu Miao Miao. My voice was so soft it was almost inaudible. I'm from H province. Louder, a boy in the back row jeered. Is that all the courage the top scorer has? The classroom erupted in laughter. I clenched my fists, the pain of my nails digging into my palms helping me calm down. My name is Gu Miao Miao, I said, my voice now clear and firm. I scored 718 on the college entrance exam, but not because I'm a genius. It's because I understand better than anyone that studying is the only chance to change my fate. The classroom fell silent. I was once called a money loser by my family and almost sold off to an old bachelor. I looked directly at the boy who had been jeering. If you had gone through all that, you would understand what it means for me to stand here. After a deathly silence, thunderous applause erupted. I saw Lin Xiaoyu in the audience clapping frantically, her eyes reddening. Back in my seat, my hands were still trembling slightly, but a surge of unprecedented strength welled up inside me. This time, I had finally spoken up for myself. After the meet and greet, a tall boy with glasses stopped me. Zhang Cheng, head of the academic department of the student council. He smiled and extended his hand. Your story is quite inspiring. Would you be interested in joining the academic department? I politely shook his hand. I'll think about it. Don't be so quick to refuse. Zhang Cheng adjusted his glasses. The academic department has many resources and opportunities, especially suitable for someone like you, a special new student. The look in his eyes behind the lenses made me uncomfortable, as if he were appraising a piece of merchandise. I took half a step back. Thank you, I'll consider it carefully. Back in the dorm, my roommates had already arrived. 3 girls were chattering away, but they immediately fell silent when they saw me come in. So you're Gu Miao Miao? A girl with permed curls sized me up. I never thought I'd be sharing a room with the top scorer. I nodded and quietly made my way to my bunk. They resumed their conversation, but deliberately lowered their voices, occasionally glancing my way. Lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling. The first day at Tsinghua was more complicated than I had imagined, but no matter what, it was already a million times better than dying in that old bachelor's house in my previous life. The phone vibrated again. A message from Mom. Reporters came to the village for interviews. Your grandma is hiding and won't see anyone. Gu Lin went to Shenzhen to work. I replied with, got it, but there was no relief in my heart. That threatening text message was like a thorn, piercing deep. Outside the window, the night in Tsinghua Garden was serene and beautiful. I took a deep breath and told myself, a new life has begun, but vigilance must not be relaxed. In the advanced mathematics class, the professor was deriving a complex formula on the blackboard. I stared at the strings of symbols, a fine sweat breaking out on my forehead. The memories of the college entrance exam that my rebirth brought me were utterly useless in the face of university courses. While the students around me nodded frequently, I couldn't even keep up with which chapter the professor was teaching. Gu Miao Miao, please answer this question. The professor suddenly called my name. I stood up stiffly, and the classroom fell into silence. I couldn't even understand the question written on the blackboard. I don't know, I finally admitted in a low voice. The professor frowned. The top scorer in the province doesn't know basic calculus. A few muffled snickers echoed in the classroom. My face burned crimson, my nails digging deep into my palms. The halo of scoring 718 points in the college entrance exam felt utterly ironic at this moment. The bell for the end of class saved me. I hurriedly gathered my books, desperate to escape the classroom. Student Gu, the professor called out to me, come to my office after school. In the office, the professor handed me a test paper. This is the entrance placement exam. Please take it. 2 hours later, I handed in my answer sheet. As the professor graded it, his frown deepened. Your foundation is too weak, he said bluntly. Your college entrance exam score does not match your actual ability at all. My heart raced. Professor, I will work hard, I said. I hope so, he said meaningfully. Tsinghua isn't a place you can graduate from just by luck. Leaving the office, my legs felt weak. Rebirth had given me the chance to change my college entrance exam fate, but the path through university had to be walked with genuine talent and real learning. The library became my refuge. Every day, aside from attending classes, I immersed myself here, starting from the most basic textbooks to catch up. Hungry, I gnawed on bread. Thirsty, I drank tap water, not leaving until the library closed. See you again. Lin Xiaoyu bumped into me for who knows how many times in the library. You'll wear yourself out like this. I closed. Introduction to Calculus. What's up? I brought you something good to eat. She set down a carton of milk and a sandwich. My mom said the top scorer in the province is too skinny and told me to take good care of you. I eyed the food warily. Why are you being so nice to me? Lin Xiaoyu tilted her head. Because you deserve it. I saw your interview. You're very brave. A simple sentence. yet it made my nose sting. Since my rebirth, I had grown accustomed to scheming and guarding myself, almost forgetting that there could still be pure kindness between people. Thank you. I took the food, my voice choked with emotion. Our dorm is going to the summer palace this weekend. Want to come along? Lin Xiaoyu asked expectantly. I instinctively wanted to refuse, but looking into her bright eyes, I found myself nodding inexplicably. Back at the dorm, my bed had been tampered with, although everything seemed to be arranged the same way. A strand of hair I had tucked inside my textbook was missing. Did anyone come to our dorm today? I asked my roommate casually. The curly-haired girl didn't even look up. The student council came to check on the cleanliness. The student council? I thought of Zhang Cheng's scrutinizing gaze behind his glasses, and alarm bells went off in my mind. The next day, a trending post appeared on the campus forum, exposing the true face of the provincial top scorer, the Tsinghua life of a college entrance exam cheater. The post contained various candid photos of me, my awkward moments struggling to answer questions in class, my unflattering poses while dozing off in the library, and even close-up shots of my dormitory bed. The most malicious part was a series of photoshopped images, which had been edited to place me in compromising and inappropriate scenes. The post quickly surpassed 10,000 views, and the comments section erupted in an uproar. I knew her scores were suspicious. I heard her family background is quite complicated. Does someone like that even deserve to be at Tsinghua? Trembling all over, I closed the web page, and another text message from the unknown number arrived. Did you like the gift I sent you? This time, I dialed the number directly, only to be told it was out of service. Just as I was at a loss, Lin Xiaoyu rushed into the dormitory and hugged me tightly. Don't be afraid, we're all on your side. It turned out she had teamed up with several classmates to post counterarguments on the campus forum and had also reported the defamatory post to the school. Senior Zhang Cheng has already contacted the technical department to trace the IP address, Lin Xiaoyu said confidently. We'll find the poster soon. Zhang Cheng, my heart sank. What a coincidence. The student council had just inspected our dormitory yesterday, and now this happened today. In the evening, the counselor spoke with me, indicating that the school would handle the defamation incident seriously, while also tactfully reminding me to be mindful of my personal influence. Meow meow, your situation is special. The counselor hesitated before continuing. Someone reported to the school, saying that your college entrance exam results might have been inflated. I looked up sharply. Who reported it? An anonymous report. The counselor sighed. The school will investigate thoroughly, but it's best for you to keep a low profile for now. Leaving the office, I received a text from Zhang Cheng. I've traced the IP address. It's from an internet cafe outside the campus. Do you need help dealing with it? I replied, no need, thank you. Things were becoming increasingly clear. Zhang Cheng was acting too eager, and that so-called tip-off was likely orchestrated by him all along. Lying in bed, I tossed and turned. Rebirth wasn't the end, it was a new battlefield. Although Gu Lin and Grandma had temporarily stepped back, their claws had already reached into Tsinghua Garden. The phone vibrated. A message from Mom. Meow meow, your grandma has been going to town a lot lately. Seems like she's meeting someone. Be careful. I gripped my phone tightly, my eyes gleaming in the darkness. Come on, no matter what tricks you still have up your sleeves, this time around, I won't be at your mercy. The midterm calculus results were out. I scored 92, ranking third in the class. The professor glanced at me while handing out the papers. Great improvement, Miss Gu. Sparse applause echoed in the classroom, mingled with a few discordant murmurs. Ever since that slanderous post appeared, I had become a controversial figure in the class. She must have cheated. I heard she was always scheming in high school. I took the exam paper without changing my expression. Compared to Grandma's cane and Gu Lin's humiliation, these idle whispers were nothing at all. After class, I went straight to the library. I had just sat down when a shadow fell over my desk. Gu meow meow, care to talk? Zhang Cheng looked down at me from above. A hypocritical smile plastered on his face. I closed my book. What is it? He pulled out a chair and sat down. How does it feel to be isolated? It really is him. I looked straight into his eyes. Much better than the feeling of being sold off. Zhang Cheng's expression changes. Don't act all high and mighty. I know your secret. That so-called bonus point system is real, isn't it? My heart skips a beat, but I keep my composure. I don't know what you're talking about. Gu Lin is my cousin. He lowers his voice. He told me everything. Did you think being reborn would let you escape fate? How naive. The blood seemed to freeze in my veins. Gu Lin and Zhang Cheng are actually cousins, and they know I've been reborn. What do you want? I asked calmly. Zhang Qing smiled. Join the study department and be my assistant. Your foresight is quite valuable. So that's it. He wants to use the advantage of my rebirth for his own benefit. What if I refuse? Then more scandals will follow. He adjusted his glasses. Think about it. A mentally unstable student claiming to have reborn to explain their college entrance exam score. Who would believe you? I stood up. Zhang Qing, do you know why I scored 718 points? He froze for a moment. Because I'm not even afraid of death. I leaned in and whispered in his ear. And you're just a pathetic bully hiding behind your power. With that, I gathered my books and left, leaving Zhang Qing sitting there in stunned silence. As soon as I stepped out of the library, I sent a message to Teacher Li, asking if Gu Lin had a cousin at Tsinghua University. The reply came quickly. Yes, his name is Zhang Qing, 2 years ahead of you. His father is an official in the provincial education department. The mystery was solved. Zhang Cheng's father was likely connected to that bonus point system, and after his own failure, Gu Lin had turned to this cousin to continue targeting me. I could no longer afford to just take the hits. The next day, I took the initiative to meet with my academic advisor and submitted a detailed set of materials, from evidence proving the relationship between Zhang Cheng and Gu Lin, to screenshots of the defamatory posts on campus forums, and the record of that threatening text message. Senior Zhang Qing used his authority to harass me and spread rumors, I said, my eyes reddening. I'm asking the school to protect me. The advisor was shocked as he flipped through the materials. This is too serious. I'll report it immediately. After leaving the office, I went to the School of Computer Science and found a senior in the technical department. He was a fellow townsman of Lin Xiaoyu. Senior, could you help me look up the detailed address of an IP? I handed over a slip of paper with an IP address written on it. It's the source of that defamatory post from last time. The senior hesitated for a moment. This isn't really within the rules. I suspect the poster might be connected to the recent thefts in the girls' dormitories. I told a small lie. The girls are all really scared. The senior immediately became serious. I'll look it up right away. 2 hours later, I got the result. The internet cafe corresponding to that IP was right next to a cafe Zhang Qing often visited. That evening, a new post appeared on the campus forum. Summary of evidence: Student Council cadre Zhang Qing abusing power for personal gain and harassing female students. The post detailed Zhang Cheng's relationship with Gu Lin, screenshots of his chat records plotting to slander me, and even evidence of his inappropriate interactions with other female students. The poster signed off as, a victim unwilling to stay silent. Of course, this was all part of my carefully orchestrated plan. The post instantly set the entire campus ablaze. Zhang Cheng's phone was flooded with calls, and the student council urgently convened a meeting. I didn't attend the hearing on the second day. Instead, I went to the police station to formally report that someone was threatening my personal safety online and via text messages. The police quickly filed a case and contacted the school to investigate. Zhang Cheng was suspended from his student council position and subjected to a comprehensive investigation. Meow meow, you're amazing. Lin Xiaoyu excitedly rushed into the dormitory. That bastard Zhang Qing finally got what he deserved. I smiled but didn't tell her that all of this was my design. Rebirth taught me not only knowledge but also how to fight back without exposing myself. On the weekend, I went to the summer palace with Lin Xiaoyu and the others as planned. The autumn sunlight shimmered on Kunming Lake, casting a sparkling glow. We rode boats, took photos, and ate candied haws, laughing like ordinary college students. On the way back to campus, Lin Xiaoyu suddenly asked me, meow meow, you were the one who posted that thread, weren't you? My heart skipped a beat. Why do you say that? Intuition, she said with a sly wink, but don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Zhang Qing deserved it. Looking into her sincere eyes, I felt a twinge of guilt for the first time. Exploiting someone's trust was never my intention, but to protect myself, I had no choice but to do it. That evening, my mom called, her voice trembling with tears. Meow meow, your grandma has been arrested. It turned out that grandma, unwilling to accept defeat, had gone to town to pull some strings and seek revenge against me. In the process, she was exposed for her involvement in a college entrance exam cheating scandal from many years ago. The police followed the trail, uncovering a corruption network within the provincial education department, which included Zhang Cheng's father. I heard it also involved something called a system, Mom said, confused. Meow meow, what on earth is going on? I gripped the phone tightly. Mom, this is karma. After hanging up, I stood by the dormitory window, gazing at the star-filled sky. that mysterious, bonus point system had finally surfaced. With the arrest of Zhang Cheng's father. Though its origins remained a mystery, at least it could no longer harm me. My phone vibrated. A text from an unknown number. You think you've won, the game has only just begun. I calmly deleted the message. No matter how many hidden arrows remained, in this life, I was no longer the Gu Miao Miao who could be trampled upon at will. On the weekend before the final exams, I went to the National Library alone, not to study, but to look up reports on the college entrance exam cheating scandal from 10 years ago. In the electronic newspaper database, I typed in the keywords, Provincial Education Department cheating scandal, and dozens of related news articles immediately popped up on the screen. 2009 college entrance exam reveals shocking cheating scandal, multiple Provincial Education Department officials involved, mysterious bonus point system exposed. Dozens of candidates' scores show abnormalities. Deputy Director of the Education Department, Zhang, has been placed under disciplinary investigation for allegedly accepting bribes and manipulating college entrance exam scores. I clicked on an old photo showing the officials being taken away. One person's face was blurred, but the figure and posture bore a striking resemblance to Zhang Cheng. Scrolling further down, a brief, inconspicuous news item caught my attention. Key witness in the fraud case, Gu, died suddenly of a heart attack, disrupting part of the evidence chain. Gu. I zoomed in on the blurry accompanying image. Though the resolution was low, the hunched back was unmistakably my grandmother's. My fingers trembled uncontrollably. So Grandma had been involved in this fraud case all along, and that so-called bonus point system was likely a leftover from that old scandal. My phone suddenly vibrated, interrupting my thoughts. It was a message from Teacher Li. Miao Miao. Gu Lin has returned from Shenzhen and is causing a scene at school, saying you used dark magic to harm his entire family. I immediately packed my things and rushed back to campus. From a distance, I could see a crowd gathered in front of the teaching building, with Gu Lin standing in the center, shouting something hysterically. She's not normal, she can predict the future. Gu Lin's eyes were bloodshot, his hair as messy as a bird's nest. She used dark magic to score 718 points. I'm the real top scorer. Some of the onlooking students snickered, while others recorded the scene on their phones. Gu Lin looked utterly disheveled, his clothes wrinkled and messy, completely devoid of the arrogance he once had as the prodigy boy. Gu Lin, I walked up to him, my voice eerily calm. Long time no see. He stumbled back 2 steps as if he had seen a ghost, then lunged forward and grabbed my shoulders. You bitch, you ruined Grandma, you ruined my dad, and now you won't even spare my cousin. The security guards immediately pulled him away. I straightened my collar, which had been tugged out of place, and addressed the watching students. This is my cousin, Gu Lin. He's been under investigation for cheating on the college entrance exam, and it's taken a toll on his mental state. She's lying, Gu Lin struggled and shouted. She's been reborn, she came back from the future. This remark drew a burst of laughter. Someone jeered, buddy, have you been reading too much sci-fi? I walked up to Gu Lin and said in a voice only he could hear, how does it feel to score 918 points? Gu Lin's face instantly turned deathly pale, and he collapsed to the ground as if his soul had been drained away. Take him to the school hospital, I said to the security guard. He needs psychological treatment. Watching Gu Lin being dragged away, I felt no sense of satisfaction, only endless exhaustion. This grudge spanning 2 lifetimes had finally come to an end. Back at the dorm, I received a call from the police, asking me to assist in the investigation of Zhang Cheng's father and grandmother's case. At the police station, I met Officer Chen, who was in charge of the case. Student Gu, we've uncovered some information related to you, Officer Chen said, sliding a file toward me. Your grandmother and Deputy Director Zhang were old acquaintances. They once collaborated on developing a software system capable of altering college entrance exam scores. I opened the file, which contained a technical analysis report. The so-called bonus point system was actually a backdoor program capable of infiltrating the provincial college entrance exam grading system to alter scores. This system should have been destroyed 10 years ago, but your grandmother secretly kept a copy, Officer Chen continued. She used it to ensure Gu Lin would always outperform you. Why? I asked, voicing the question that had haunted me for 2 lifetimes. Why does Grandma hate me so much? Officer Chen sighed. Because of your grandfather. He was the key witness who exposed the fraud case back then, and your grandmother has always believed it was your mother who reported him, leading to his sudden heart attack and death. I looked up in shock. That's impossible. My mother was so timid. "You grandmother hated the wrong person." Officer Chen shook his head. "The one who actually reported your grandfather was Deputy Director Zhang. He betrayed your grandfather to save himself." How ironic fate could be. Grandma had spent her entire life nurturing Gu Lin and suppressing me, all for the sake of a mistaken target of revenge. As I walked out of the police station, the setting sun stretched my shadow long. Memories from 2 lifetimes surged in my mind, the days and nights of beatings and scoldings, the humiliating moments of being called a money-losing burden, all stemmed from an absurd misunderstanding. The phone rang. It was Lin Xiaoyu. Meow meow. Quick, check the campus forum. A new post was pinned to the forum homepage. The truth about the Zhang Cheng and Gu Lin family fraud case. Inside information from the police, the post detailed the ins and outs of that fraud case from 10 years ago, as well as how Zhang Cheng had used his father's connections to run rampant on campus. The poster was anonymous, but the writing style was familiar to me. It was that senior from the tech department. It seems a sense of justice is contagious. Back in the dorm, my 3 roommates stood up in unison. Meow meow. The curly-haired girl hesitated. We believed Zhang Cheng's rumors about you before." "It's okay," I smiled. "It's all in the past. Let us treat you to a meal." Another roommate chimed in eagerly. "Consider it our apology." Looking at their sincere faces, I suddenly realized that ever since my rebirth, I had been living in hatred and vigilance, almost forgetting how to interact with people normally. "Great," I heard myself say, "but I want the most expensive one." That night, the 4 of us girls laughed and joked until late at the small restaurant off campus. I drank a little beer, my face warm, my heart even warmer, in both of my lives. This was the first time I had experienced the pure friendship of peers. Back in the dorm, I stood by the window, gazing at the night view of Tsinghua University. Gu Miao Miao, who had once been filled with hatred, finally began her true new life in that moment. On the day the final exams ended, the first snow of the season fell over Tsinghua University. I stood in front of the teaching building, watching the snowflakes flutter down, and reached out to catch one. The icy sensation melted in my palm. So real it made me want to cry. "Gu Miao Miao." Lin Xiaoyu pounced from behind, stuffing a handful of snow down my collar. "Stop daydreaming, the results are out." I jumped from the cold and turned to chase her. We tussled in the snow, our laughter startling the sparrows from the trees. The bulletin board outside the academic affairs office was crowded with students checking their grades. I squeezed through and found my name, Gu Miao Miao. Overall score in the top 10% of the grade, awarded first class scholarship. "Oh my god, you're amazing." Lin Xiaoyu was even more excited than I was. You're treating. I smiled and nodded, but inside I was unusually calm. This achievement was earned through countless sleepless nights, without a trace of luck. On the way back to the dorm, we ran into Zhang Cheng, who had been expelled from school. He was dragging his suitcase, walking gloomily through the snow, completely devoid of the high spirits he once had. Seeing me, he stopped in his tracks, his eyes dark and sinister. "Don't celebrate too soon, Gu Miao Miao. The system has more than one version." I looked him straight in the eyes. "Zhang Cheng, do you know what the most important lesson I've learned since being reborn is?" He froze for a moment. "True power never lies in any system." I pointed to my temple. "It's right here, in every choice that refuses to bow to fate." Zhang Cheng was left speechless and eventually slunk away. What system was he talking about? Lin Xiaoyu asked curiously. I shook my head. "It doesn't matter anymore." "Yes, that mysterious, bonus point system, all those grudges and entanglements, none of it mattered anymore. What mattered was that I had proven through my own efforts, even without a system, I could still live a brilliant life." Before winter break, I received 2 important emails. One was a photo from my mom, standing in her newly rented apartment with a radiant smile. After Grandma was arrested, Mom finally found the courage to leave that home and found a job in the county town. The other email was from the school, inviting me to join the Spring Bud Project, to give motivational speeches to girls in remote mountainous areas. "Your story is truly inspiring," the counselor wrote in the email. "Those girls need to know that fate can be changed." I replied with my agreement, then opened my laptop and began preparing my speech. This time, I was no longer the worthless burden forced into silence. I was going to speak up for more girls like me. The day before the holiday, I was the only one left in the dorm. All my roommates had gone home early. My train was leaving the next morning. My phone suddenly rang. It was an unfamiliar number. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. "Gu Miao Miao," a deep male voice said. "I'm Officer Chen. I have some news for you." Your grandmother had a sudden cerebral hemorrhage while in detention and has been taken to the hospital for emergency treatment. I tightened my grip on the phone. Is it serious? Not very optimistic. Officer Chen paused for a moment. She keeps calling out, wanting to see you. Under the stark white lights of the hospital corridor, I saw my grandmother, tubes covering her body. She looked so small, so old, completely devoid of her usual fierce and intimidating presence. Meow, meow. 2 lines of tears streamed down from her clouded eyes. I'm sorry. I stood by the bedside, not moving closer. Why are you saying sorry only now? The system broke, she said haltingly. Your grandfather wasn't your mother. I know. I cut her off. It was Deputy Director Zhang who informed on them. Grandma's eyes widened, then she began coughing violently. The nurse hurried in to check on her and gestured for me to leave. Standing outside the ward, I could see through the glass window that Grandma's lips were still moving, as if she were saying something. For some reason, I suddenly remembered the only time she had ever smiled at me when I was a child. The day I got a perfect score on a test, she patted my head and said, "Not bad." That was the only time I ever remember her praising me. Early the next morning, Grandma passed away. The doctor said it was organ failure caused by a massive cerebral hemorrhage. I completed the simple formalities and sent her body back to our hometown. The funeral was simple, with only a few distant relatives in attendance. Gu Lin did not show up. It was said he had gone to work in the south. Mom, her eyes red, busied herself with the arrangements, while I stood to the side, neither wanting to cry nor feeling any sense of relief. At the graveside, I placed a bouquet of white chrysanthemums and whispered softly, "Grandma, in your next life, don't hold so much hatred." On the way back to Beijing, the train passed through one tunnel after another. Each time darkness fell, my face would reflect in the window, a calm and resolute face, completely different from the desperate girl I was before my rebirth. My phone vibrated with a message from Lin Xiaoyu. "Happy winter break. Don't forget our promise. We'll go for hot pot together when school starts." I smiled and replied, "Definitely." Outside the window, sunlight pierced through the clouds, spilling over the snow-covered fields, so bright it was almost blinding. I squinted, savoring the warmth. Rebirth gave me the chance to change my fate, but what truly changed it were my own choices and perseverance. That Gu Miao Miao who was called a money-losing burden is forever left in the past, and the person standing here now is a completely new me. The train continued to speed forward, carrying me toward an unknown yet hopeful future. This time, no one and no system could define my life. I, Gu Miao Miao, will personally write my own chapter. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.